I'm wondering how you guys think about the benefits of observations in general. So the benefit for you guys, the benefits for the programs. I think you've talked about the benefit for the person for being observed because they have the opportunity to get feedback and grow. But what do you think of the other benefits? Bonnie, do you mind taking this one first when you think about
Sure.
big picture benefits of this process and of just being observed?
I think this is a win-win all over because yes, I'm a qualified observer and I'm still learning, right? We're all still in a learning process. So by watching and observing another coach in a session, I'm learning how they do it. And maybe I'll learn another way to ask a question that is way better than the way that I ask it, or that makes much more sense, or that rolls off my tongue much more smoothly. I'm not perfect at this, and yet I'm judging other people doing it. So I'm learning just as much as they are. And I really enjoy doing it because I get to see in action how other people are doing it. So I think it's a great process for the one being observed, but I also think it's a great process for us as the observers.
Yeah, and I think you, as the observers, can approach the observation with that openness that I can learn too. I might see some good tips, even what Emily was saying before about liking what Bonnie was doing with Kim. Like there's always these opportunities to learn. So thanks, Bonnie. Emily, you were shaking your head while Bonnie was talking. What are you thinking about with some of those benefits, maybe from a program manager perspective too?
Well, even though I'm the program manager, like Bonnie said, though, we're all still learning. And I do love to point out what I learned from their session and that I'm going to start doing in the future. Like I'm like all about self-assessment, and that's the only way to grow. And so that's kind of how this benefits the providers too, is that number one, it builds their confidence because like I said, they are so hard on themselves if they're not thinking they're doing it exactly the way it needs to be done. But it can't be done exactly the way you did it, an hour ago at a different session. So helps them understand like the versatility of coaching in the first place. But I like seeing them feel better about themselves after we talk about the observations. I haven't had one that like everyone was no, and I know that would be hard, but just seeing them learn, and then they'll tell me how it went the next time. So just the benefits of us growing in coaching, I think is the number one benefit for us.
Yeah, I think it sounds like there's also almost like rapport building or relationship building with people you're observing. Like you said, they come back and tell you how they went. So that can be a real nice positive within a program, I think, too. How about you, Lisa? What do you think are some of the benefits program-wise, you as an observer?
1000% what Bonnie was saying about equally learning. It doesn't matter if you've worked for 2 years or 20 years, everybody can learn from each other, and they should be learning from each other because it's such a wonderful growing opportunity to build your primary service provider skills. Me not being a motor therapist, when I go and I watch maybe, or in the past when I've watched a physical therapist or occupational therapist, I have just learned a wealth of information about, how they help the family support the child when they were standing, but then also working on the language at the same time as they're picking up toys and working on their fine motor. So it's not even about just the language that we're sharing with the listening to the language that's being passed back and forth, or that communication, but also what they're physically doing with the family. Because that, just for me personally, it helps me become a better interventionist, because then I can sort of carry over some of those movement pieces into the visits as well. So as a program in general, it just helps everyone build their capacity at every single level.
Yeah. I love that idea of the sort of equally being learners across both of them, but I think that could be a good selling point to recruit more Fidelity observers. Like this could be beneficial to you too. So Kim, I'm going to ask you to wrap that up. What do you think, what benefits have come up for you when you've done your observations?
Well, absolutely. The relationship building, especially during this past year when we all felt a bit alone and isolated, to connect with someone virtually and have these great conversations with them and really dive into their world of early intervention service delivery was just so beneficial to me, made me feel good. The learning, just exponentially, the most important thing that I got out of doing the Fidelity observations. I learned so much, whether it was from Bonnie, how to explain tone, muscle tone to a family, or to add to my toolbox of calming strategies from an OT to another one of my families. I have just greatly appreciated this opportunity. And I've actually, in conversations during debriefing or reflections, encouraged providers to go ahead. Within our system, you can do a series of activities and trainings and become a qualified observer. And I've encouraged others to do so as well, because as Bonnie mentioned early on in our program, it could be your peer that does your observation, and that could be really comfortable for a lot of people. So yeah, I've really appreciated this experience.
What a perfect way to wrap us up. So see, this is so great. It's great to be one too. So I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for taking the time to share your expertise and your experience. And I think to share that this can be a really positive experience. Like we talked about before, especially probably for your first observation as an observee, it's probably normal to have a little bit of jitters, but when you're working with an observer who's really approaching it as a learning opportunity for you as the observer and for the observee too, I think it can be, the intention of the whole process is to help people growth and to make sure we're doing the best version of coaching we can do for families. So thank you guys for taking the time today, and I appreciate it. I think we'll wrap up our video chat. So thanks everybody. Have a great day.